Now you decide your artwork, you want to have it, reproduced digitally. There's two ways to do it. You can have scanning or you can photograph it. Photographing it is one of the easiest ways to do it because everybody has a camera. Scanning is probably the most accurate. I love to have things scanned, but the thing is, unless you paint an 8 by 10 size painting, you're not going to be able to get a flatbed scanner that's affordable and is easy to use. I mean, the really big ones cost a lot of money. So more people have a good camera which is going to be able to take pictures of it than they do of a flatbed scanner. So that's why in this tutorial I'm going to teach you guys how to photograph your artwork and have the colors accurately reproduced. This is the watercolor batik of a giraffe that I created a couple weeks ago, and we're going to photograph this. We're going to talk about getting the correct color. Now I'm photographing this in my studio, and this is a combination of tungsten and fluorescent lights, so it's going to look terrible if I don't do any color corrections on top of it. The first thing I want to talk about though is just getting even lighting on the piece. So this isn't too difficult to photograph because it's not very reflective, but I have to make sure it's even lighting on all the four corners, so I'm going to talk about that first. And if you take this off, you'll see that I've got tape in the four corners. My goal when I set up my things, we want to make this as easy as possible for you to do with minimal equipment also, but you have to get even lighting on all the four corners, otherwise different areas are going to be darker than others, and it's not going to reproduce accurately. So the easiest way to check this is if you have a light meter, but honestly, who has a light meter? I mean, I do, and maybe 500 other people do. And if you click on this, you want the numbers to stay the same. Now, this did not stay the same on all the four corners, and sometimes it's because of the way I'm holding it, but it seems to be darker at the bottom. I'm going from 1/4 of a second to 1/2 a second. So then I'm faced with the difficulty of, well, the bottom is darker than the top. So what can I do about that? There are several ways to get more light to the bottom of it without adding additional lights. The easiest way and the cheapest way, especially if you're an artist, is just to use pieces of foam core. Now I'm going to take this piece of foam core, and my goal is to bounce more light to the bottom than the top, which will hopefully equal out the bottom and the top. So, I mean, this is just super makeshift, and again, we're trying to make this as easy as possible. I'm just going to take this piece of foam core, put something underneath it. Hopefully that will bounce enough light up onto the top of it here. I'm going to check the numbers again. Now we are all 4 and 11, which is f-stop 11 at 1/4 of a second. Now we have even lighting. Now if you don't have a light meter, because again, no one does, except the way you can do this otherwise is if you take a camera, it can almost be any camera, but you have to put it on either the sports setting, landscape, shutter speed, or aperture. So one of the numbers has to stay the same. And what you do is you take the camera and you just focus on the four corners and push halfway down to focus. And as long as the numbers stay the same, both numbers, the aperture and shutter speed, then you have even lighting. And that's probably the easiest way for anybody to check at home. It doesn't have to be a DSLR where you can take the lens off. It can just be just a normal cheap camera. But you just have to make sure that the numbers stay the same. Then you have even lighting. Now there's another way you can bounce more light also. So if you don't have foam core, and if you do have like expensive diffusers and things, you can also use the diffuser. One of these. This is a great way to bounce more light onto things. And you just go. Alright, let me tell you, I'm never going to make fun of people in traction again, because that was the worst 2 weeks of my life. You can check out more of my work at rfoxphoto.com or my Etsy shop at rfoxwatercolors. Thanks a lot. Happy painting.